Hello and welcome to the third grade Force and Motion Lesson 2 unit. So this lesson is after you've completed the initial engagement activity and you do your first big negotiation, I don't want to say big negotiation, but your first negotiation that leads to the big idea, and if time permits, goes to some potential questions that you might investigate. Just a little bit of wording. This, even though this is lesson 2, this might take more than, if I'm assuming you're going to have around 30 minutes. Depending on the pace, it might take more than 30 minutes. So lesson 2 could actually be 2 days. So just want to kind of keep that in mind. All right, so in this lesson, it's just going to be a big discussion about everything that the students observed yesterday. So, the goal of this is to try to elicit their thinking as much as possible. So you definitely don't want to tip your hat at what the right idea is, or even that some ideas are better than other. It's kind of a free-for-all. But I do want to say, at the end of this lesson, you do want to make sure you establish the big idea. And the big idea is just simply a force is a push or pull that changes motion. So as students are sharing, you want to keep that in the back of your mind. And you might want to do stuff like, like say, okay, whatever the student's name, tell us what you saw. And if she said, I pushed the toy car and it hit the other car and made it move back. You want to think about some of the words that the kids say. So like you might say, do something like, oh, that word push, that seems kind of important. Does everybody else agree? Did anybody else see a push? What does a push do? And then if you have an example, like, well, what does a pull do? And are these things related? So you want to just kind of keep your mind kind of aware of some of these things and kind of jump on them. And it's not necessarily you're saying like, oh, that's right. Instead, you're just kind of saying, that sounds interesting. Maybe we should investigate that a little bit more. But kind of an order of business with this lesson, you want to establish the big idea first by having them share what they observed. Then you're going to ask them, well, what kind of questions do you have? And I want you to write as many questions as possible. But we have to follow a couple different rules. What are those things? What are those rules? The questions we're going to investigate has to fit under the big idea. You also want to say it has to be safe. It has to be something that we can test. Now, I'll kind of bring this into tomorrow's lesson, but one of the things for the balance and unbalance 3PS2-1 standard, we have a rocket launcher. So you might want to say, and this you might want to talk about the group that was squeezing the mini foam launchers. Oh, hey, by the way, I have this rocket launcher. Could we think of a test that we could do with that? So you might want to kind of show them what you have. And as far as materials with the cars, as far as materials with the launchers, and as far as materials with the magnets, you could just say, we have these materials right here. So what would be some potential questions that we could test that we want to learn about? So again, this might take 2 days, but at the end you want to develop the big idea first and then a large list of questions for the kids to potentially investigate.